Hi, my name is SENWiEco and I write a blog about sustainable living and about the path that I'm taking to building what I consider a house that is energy efficient and sustainable. I'm here today to demonstrate the application of a liquid applied water resistant barrier and air barrier system from Prosoco called R-Gaurd. R-Gaurd system is comprised of four components: R-Gaurd Joint Seam, R-Gaurd Fast Flash, R-Gaurd Cat 5, and R-Gaurd Air Dam. All of the components of this system are formulated from the same 98% solids silo-terminated polyether, and when applied overlapping, they bond at a molecular level to form a single homogeneous material. Because they are 98% solids, they are also dimensionally stable as they cure and have very low VOCs. Some of the benefits to builders using an R-Gaurd system are: it is easy to apply. There is no such thing as a reverse lap, unlike the solid sheeting materials. It's UV stable for 6 months. It's durable. It will not be damaged in the wind or other weather. If mechanical damage does happen, let's say something brushes up against it, it can be easily touched up at any time, either while it's wet or after it's cured. It's solvent and isocyanate free. It has low VOCs and does not react with most self-adhered membranes. It's compatible with most urethane, silicone, and acrylic sealants and coatings. Bonds well to most products without priming. And best of all, it can be applied in the rain over wet wood. It wet cures and will not re-liquefy in wet conditions. The first step when installing this product is to ensure that your construction is complete. You have to make sure that any gaps larger than ½ inch on the surface that will form your barriers are properly prepared, which involves filling those gaps with some sort of solid construction. I prefer wood, but you can also use spray foam that is shaved flush. And you just basically need to make sure that your surface is continuous prior to going on to the next step. So here what we have is we have a mock-up of a wall. We need to look at areas where there could be a gap. Get back into the picture here. So you would be looking down at the interfaces. You would be looking between the framing and the plywood. Here we're not going to worry about it because there's going to be, this is going to be for an HVAC duct, and the actual interface between the duct and the plywood sheathing is going to be with a hood termination. So we would be sealing the back edge of this into some of the R-Gaurd products later on. Around the plumbing penetration for the exterior hose bib, around a metal nipple that would contain the wires for an exterior outlet. Those are all areas that we would look at to see that we didn't have gaps larger than ½ inch, because those are all going to be areas that we have to ensure that are airtight so that they form our air seal. The next step is to prepare all nail and screw holes, sheathing seams, inside and outdoor corners, and any interface between the sheathing and the framing, i.e. sheathing and framing here, anything where there is the potential for movement between two different components. You would prepare those with a joint and seam sealant. This has some fibers embedded into the sealant to provide some extra strength. It goes on like a caulking. You would caulk it on with a caulking gun, caulk it on with some beads, and then you would use a simple auto body filler tool, knife, to spread it out to a thickness that is opaque. You would spread it out on each side of your seam by 1 inch, and that's basically all that is needed to prepare those surfaces for the next step. I should say I've never put this product on before, so I've seen a couple demonstrations and I've watched a couple of videos, but it should be interesting. Now the beauty of this product is you can start and stop at any time. Unlike other sealants where you're doing, say, a sealed, let's say you're going to do a sealed sheathing membrane with caulking, you basically have to finish that seam from one side of the house to the other on a specific day, because once that caulking sets up, you can't try to peel back the seam to start the next join, because you will peel it back from the already cured caulking and end up with a it's going to be one of those days. Non-continuous seam. Okay, I think I've got it over all of the knots and all of the holes. One more nail up there. Next, two more. Okay, used very little of the product so far. Okay, now we can start the tooling process. I'm just going to spread it out. Again, making sure that we're opaque at our nail, and just working out a little bit around each side, roughly 1 inch on each side of the nail. It skins over in about 2 hours, but you would want to stop working it well before that time period, so that you don't start spreading it when it's not as pliable. Imagine it's raining right now. This product can be put on when it's raining outside, when the substrate is wet. They just recommend that you don't have standing water on the surface. Okay, so what we've done now is we've taken care of all the holes. That took about 10 minutes. Now I'm going to do some corners. And I'm going to go 1 inch out from each side of the corner. This is going to be a little bit ugly because we don't have the right nozzle. So again, between the plywood and the framing is another spot. You want to do all the way down that inch. And if there's anything that I'm doing wrong, that I get notified by the vendor of this product, I will provide an update on a link on the video. This is a product, the Joint and Seam, that has reinforcing fibers and allows for movement between the two components that it is being applied over. We're getting a little bit faster at applying it. That's appropriate thicknesses. You do want to let it skin up before applying the next component. The rough opening is fairly well detailed. I can tell it's opaque. I can't see the sheathing through it. Need a little bit more up here on the surface, but that looks pretty good. I'm now just going to, off camera, I'll do the bottom seam on both sides. This is to emulate a parapet on a balcony. and these inside corners. Okay? See you soon. So you'll see on the Prosoco website that they have a very specific, almost like a glazing tool that they're using to doing inside corners. A real cheap, easy way on the job site to take an old caulking tube and you cut out a strip and round the end. And because nothing sticks to these tubes, otherwise they won't be able to get the caulking out, you've got something that is a great tool. You can shape it to whatever shape you need, whatever width that you need for the seam that you're doing. And you can tool your product. And once you're done, just peel everything off of it once it hardens up. So we're going to do this inside corner utilizing this this tool I've made up. So I'm going to put some, just about gets in the corner without a knife, proper nipple on it. And then use this to ensure we have a nice seam. Again, this would have been much easier if I could have properly applied the sealant into the corner, but I'm just having to kind of push it in with the knife. But you know what? That's going to be waterproof. Already I can tell. Alright, as easy as that. Thought I would give you a close-up view of what we've done so far. You can see we've prepared the rough opening. Give you a close-up view of the inside corners. We've also detailed the bottom corners. I'm going to detail the sill with this product, even though I'm going to be covering it over with self-adhered membrane. Just as an extra level of insurance. You can see we've got the corners detailed. So I'm going to show you this last corner I'm going to do on camera, just to show you that it is indeed not overly difficult and can be done relatively easily. So we're going to caulk on some product. Again, this would be made easier if we had a nipple on the end of the caulking tube, but we'll get her done just the same. Okay, so we've crawled on some product. Take the little drip off here, and we're just going to spread that and push it into the joint. We've got from no joint up to about 3/8 of an inch on this one. Just pushing it into the joint, making sure we're continuous, and trying not to get it all over the place. Want to ensure that we've got a nice watertight, airtight surface that our product is put on so that it's opaque up to an inch away from the seams. Doesn't matter if it goes longer than an inch, it just means that you're wasting a little bit of product. And don't be scared to make a mess. It's really not the end of the world on this product if you get a little bit where you don't intend to put it. As long as you get it where you want it, at the right thicknesses, everything else really doesn't matter. Because again, remember that this forms basically a single homogeneous product when it's layered with the other components. So you get the idea. It's actually come along pretty good. It's almost done. Just a little bit of cleanup. Okay, thanks. So as promised, if I had any feedback from the manufacturer of the product on what I had presented in the video, I was going to let you guys know. So based on the first video I did on the joint and seam filler, They did have some comments. Joint seam filler and the fast splash, which is the red product that you see on now, which will be the next video. Its skin over time is 20 to 30 minutes in 65 to 70 degree Fahrenheit weather, not the 2 hours I was talking about. It can be even higher if the relative humidity is high. It can skin over as little as 12 to 15 minutes, because remember, this does cure with moisture. Obviously, if you're in the sun, it's going to even cure faster. The Cat 5 skin over time, which is the product that we're going to install on the third video, is approximately an hour with the same parameters, i.e. 65 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. One of the other tips or comments that Prosoco had regarding video 1, which you've just viewed, you'll see that I've written over top that covering over the knot holes with joint and seam wasn't necessarily required, and probably a waste of time and product. But in fact, it is a good idea, not because you're trying to maintain an air barrier, but because if there is any voids that are left voids when you apply the Cat 5, the Cat 5 will pull out of the void and drip. So they do recommend that anything deeper than about 1/8 of an inch or less, even less sometimes, is filled with joint and seam, so that once you've applied the Cat 5 over top, you're not going to get that flow that would otherwise happen. It's fine to have a depression, but you need that consistency in the thickness. And if you have a void that you don't fill, even though that void may not be an air leak, you will find that the Cat 5 product will drip out of the hole and not be consistent thickness. There's also a small chance that the Cat 5 will not stick to some fasteners if they've been coated somehow. And in those cases, the joint seam filler over top of those fasteners will again keep the Cat 5 from dripping around those fasteners. So basically, what I was doing in the video, in the mock-up, seems to be best practice, which is you just cover all of the nails and screw holes. Okay. The next tip that they provided is that when you're applying these products on a vertical surface, that you start from the bottom of that surface and work your way to the top to reduce any dripping of the product down. So that is it for an update. Tips. If I hear anything more, I'll provide additional updates. But I look forward to seeing you or you seeing me on videos 2 and 3. Thank you.